Have you ever wondered if, after 60, your soul might still be making the same mistake it made when you were 20? Life after 60 is not the end of the road. It's the gateway to a deeper, quieter, and more luminous journey. Yet, there is one spiritual mistake that can silently keep you chained to the past. Today, we will walk through the desert of memory, climb the mountain of wisdom, and open the door to a freedom that was always waiting for you. Stay with me until the end, because what you discover here may change the way you see yourself forever. Have you ever felt the crushing silence of your own past? It comes not with noise, but with a whisper, soft, persistent, and heavy. At 60 or 70 or even beyond, it often speaks louder than any clock or bell. It says, "If only." I remember standing by the edge of a river at dawn. The air was cold, carrying the scent of wet earth and pine. Mist rose gently from the water, wrapping me in a pale veil of quiet. As I gazed into the still surface, I did not see just my reflection. I saw the faces I had hurt, the chances I had abandoned, the words I had never spoken. The river, calm and merciless, became a mirror of regret. Every ripple seemed to carry a memory. The job I should have taken, the forgiveness I should have asked for, the hand I should have held longer before letting go. I felt each as a stone pressed into my chest, making it hard to breathe. The weight was invisible, yet it was heavier than any burden I had carried in my youth. For many souls over 60, regret becomes a quiet companion. We hold it close, almost as if it proves that our lives mattered. At least I care enough to regret, we tell ourselves. But is that true? Or is regret a thief, stealing the present moment while disguising itself as wisdom? I used to believe the past defined me. I thought the mistakes I made were engraved on my soul like scars on stone. I wore them as proof of my humanity. But one morning, as I watched that river, a thought struck me like lightning splitting the sky. What if regret is not sacred? What if it is not a teacher at all, but a chain I can choose to lay down? The breeze stirred, carrying the scent of dew and fresh grass. Birds began to sing in the distance, as if reminding me that the day was already alive, already moving forward. I realized then that while I was clinging to the weight of yesterday, life itself was inviting me into today. Regret, I understood, is not a friend. It is not proof of love or wisdom or depth. It is a shadow. And shadows do not have to follow us if we choose to walk into the light. I closed my eyes, listening. My heartbeat, slow but steady, was still there. The warmth of the sun was beginning to touch my skin. I was not gone. I was here. And if I was here, I still had a choice. That morning I imagined setting down the stone I had carried for so long. I did not need to forget the past, nor pretend it had never hurt me, but I no longer needed to worship it. The river taught me that water flows forward. It does not cling to the rocks it passes. Perhaps I too could flow. The revelation struck with clarity. Regret is not sacred. It is not proof of love or conscience. It is a chain, and chains can be broken. What replaces regret once it is released? That question haunted me like an echo after I set down the heavy stone of the past. At first, I thought the silence would swallow me, but then another voice rose, soft, insistent, almost mocking. It's too late. I saw it in my mind as a barren desert under a merciless sun. Every grain of sand whispered the same sentence: too late to change, too late to grow, too late to awaken. But was that the truth, or merely fear dressed as wisdom? I remember the day I sought refuge under an ancient oak tree. Its bark was scarred, its branches heavy with age, yet its roots still reached deep into the earth. The air around it was cool, filled with the scent of moss and earth after rain. As the wind rustled its leaves, it seemed to whisper a secret. The spirit has no clock. Sitting there, I realized something simple, yet profound. At 60, 70, even 90, the soul remains timeless. While the body bends and slows, the spirit remains vast, unbroken, waiting for us to notice. I closed my eyes. The breeze on my skin felt like a hand brushing away dust. The distant song of a bird pierced the silence like a bell. Life itself was speaking, reminding me that the illusion of too late is born not in the world outside, but in the prison of our own minds. I thought of friends who had surrendered to this illusion. Some stopped dreaming at 50. Others stopped loving at 60. Still others stopped forgiving altogether. They believed time had betrayed them. Yet time is not the thief. The thief is the belief that the door is already closed. That oak tree became my teacher. It bore fruit even in its old age, branches bending under the weight of possibility. I realized that too late dissolves when we stop measuring life by calendars and start living from the eternal pulse of the soul. Regret is not sacred. And neither is too late. The desert mirage vanished. I saw clearly that the spirit carries no deadlines, no expiration dates. What I feared as too late was only a shadow. And like all shadows, it disappeared when I stepped into the light. The chain of regret is gone. The mirage of too late has lifted. So a deeper question rises like wind over desert sand. If time cannot fence the soul, what truly guides its unfolding? I entered a temple made of mirrors. The floor was cool stone under my bare feet. The air smelled of frankincense and rain-damp dust. Somewhere a bowl of water sang, the soft, endless note of a tiny ripple. Candles hissed. My breath echoed back to me, steady as a drum. I stepped inside. Every mirror refused my body. Instead, each pane returned a scene from within. A burst of laughter I'd forgotten, an old prayer whispered in a hospital corridor, the salt of tears on my lips, after a loss I swore I wouldn't survive. Silence too, the kind that gathers before dawn and feels like a held note in the throat of the world. One mirror showed my hands, wrinkled, speckled, steady, not damage, script. The lines read like rivers on a map, telling where I had loved, where I had worked, where I had learned patience the hard way. Another mirror lifted the weight of time from my shoulders and set it on the floor between us like a coat I no longer needed to wear. Here lay the real mistake I had carried for decades, confusing the age of the body with the light of the soul. As if candles burned dimmer because the candlestick was old, as if the ocean lost its depth when the shore changed. "Who are you without the calendar?" I asked the reflection. It did not answer in words. A wind moved through the temple and every flame bent in the same direction. The bowl stilled. The note became quiet and bright. I looked again. The mirrors no longer separated moments. They braided them. A childhood joy braided to a late-life grief, and somehow the cord glowed stronger for being woven. This is what the soul does with time. It composts it, nothing wasted. Everything turned into light. I placed my palm to the glass. Cool, smooth, honest. Images flashed. The day I learned to forgive myself, the afternoon I almost gave up. The evening a stranger's kindness put me back on the path. I saw the oak from chapter 2, heavy with years, still drinking deeply. I saw the desert I had crossed with a mouthful of too late, now blooming with small, stubborn flowers after the first rain. What if the divine sees us not as aging flesh, I whispered, but as flame? The temple held its breath. Candles stood upright. Even the dust in the shafts of light paused mid-fall. No voice, no thunder, no grand reply, only a silence so complete it felt like a hand on my heart. In that silence something loosened. A clasp, long hidden, unhooked. I was not my years, I was their fire. I felt heat beneath my sternum, a bright coal I had guarded without knowing. Not 60, not 70, not 80, infinite. A spark that had survived every winter and would outlast every autumn to come. I laughed. It rang like metal struck once, clear and sure. The sound didn't bounce off the mirrors, it passed through them. The reflections softened, then opened like doors. Behind each pane was not more glass but a path, to the river at dawn, to the crowded kitchen where stories are traded, to the bedside where a hand is held until the final breath. The soul was pointing, not back, not forward, but inward, toward a way of walking the world lit from within. Short truths rose one after the other. Your spirit is not on a deadline. Wisdom is not late, it is ripe. The body weathers, the essence brightens. Love is the original clock. I pressed my forehead to the mirror. It was warm now, as if the temple had learned my name. Or perhaps I had finally remembered it. When I turned to leave, the door I had entered by was gone. In its place, a threshold of light, thin as a breath and wide as an ocean. To cross it would mean more than belief. It would demand practice, daily, ordinary, imperfect practice. to carry this flame into errands, into aches, into conversations that once left me small, to let the soul choose the next word, the next step, the next kindness. I stood at the edge of that brightness and understood. Revelation is not the end, it is the beginning of a different obedience. I took one breath, then another. The bowl of water sang again, higher, happier. I am ready, I said, not to be young, but to be true. And the light answered by opening. The discovery lands in the body. My essence is not 60, 70, or 80, it is infinite. The mirrors turn to doorways, and the flame within becomes my guide. The path rises before me, a mountain trail at twilight. The air is thin, cool, and filled with the fragrance of pine. Each step crunches against gravel and stone, echoing in the vast silence around me. I feel the weight of years in my body, yet in my spirit, only lightness, as if something unseen is carrying me upward. Behind me lies the Temple of Mirrors, where I discovered that age belongs to the body but not to the soul. Ahead of me now, the summit waits, veiled in golden mist. The horizon is no longer just a line between earth and sky. It is a threshold between what has been and what is yet to come. I pause. The wind brushes against my skin like the hand of eternity itself. I remember the voices of regret, the desert of too late, the heavy chains I once mistook for destiny. They tried to convince me that my greatest chapters were already written. But as I stand here, I see the truth. The greatest mistake after 60 is not death, not age, not silence. It is believing the journey is behind us. I inhale deeply. The air tastes of freedom. Let go of regret. Release the illusion of too late. Remember, you are more than a body. You are a timeless flame. Wrinkles cannot dim it. Years cannot cage it. Even death cannot touch it. At the summit, the sky opens wide. The sun is setting, but instead of darkness, I see gold, vast, eternal, unbroken. It is not the end of a day, but the birth of a horizon without boundaries. The sky itself seems to whisper, "You are not late. You are infinite." My heart answers with silence, yet not an empty silence, a silence full of presence. I realize spirituality is not about time, it is about now, not about the years we carry, but about the light we remember. So I ask myself, and I invite you to ask as well, if my spirit is eternal, what new life begins for me now? The mountain answers with wind, with silence, with the endless horizon. And in that moment, I understand. The journey was never behind me. It was always unfolding, even now, especially now. The revelation that the spiritual path is not measured by time, but by presence, not by age, but by awakening, not by what has passed, but by the eternal flame still burning within. And so, as twilight deepens and the stars emerge, I step forward, not into the past, not into the future, but into the living gate beyond time. Final insight. The soul does not count years. The soul remembers light. And whenever we choose to live from that light, the journey begins again.